You'd think if a Cessna and a UFO had a mid-air collision, it would be on the front of every paper in the country. Well, it might have happened in 2002, but I'm betting you never heard about it. Hello and thanks for watching Paralopedia, your source for everything that is, isn't, and might be true about paranormal phenomenon. This is your place to balance science with faith, where we live in the great wasteland between closed-minded skeptics and mindless believers. I'm Jason from Raptan.net, and today we're looking at, in my humble opinion, one of the best UFO stories out there that you probably haven't heard of. On October 23, 2002, Thomas J. Preziose, a veteran pilot and ex-police officer, took off on a routine flight from Mobile to Montgomery, Alabama. The flying conditions that night were slightly cloudy, but good other than that. 5 minutes into the flight, Thomas transmitted this message.
I need to deviate. I need to deviate. I need to deviate.
This would be the last time anyone would hear Thomas's voice. The next morning, Thomas's body and the wreckage of his plane were found in a swamp. The NTSB, or the National Transportation Safety Board, investigated the crash, and their official conclusion was that the pilot had become disoriented and had crashed into the swamp. This still is their official conclusion, but it wasn't the original conclusion. A man named Butch Wilson was originally the lead investigator for the NTSB on this case. He had 25 years of experience in investigating many crashes before this. In his report, he claimed Thomas had collided midair with an unknown object. So, why did he come to this conclusion? Well, the wreckage from the crash was spread out over roughly 200 feet, the plane was in hundreds of pieces, the engine was split in half, and Thomas's body was found half a mile from the crash site. Butch Wilson was quoted as saying this.
This is where Tom's aircraft crashed. The wreckage in this area was scattered out about 200 feet. If the aircraft had crashed due to a loss of control directly into the water, you'd expect to find a relatively intact airplane, and that's not what we found. In a water impact, you'd expect to find the engine intact. It would not be split in half. The propeller would have been intact. It would have remained attached to the hub. It was not. It was broken and separated. That indicates to me an in-flight breakup. The pilot was ejected. He's very heavy, and he ended up furthest away. Something hit that airplane and brought it down. It did not crash into the water and break up as a result of the impact with the water. This broke up in flight and fell.
Butch Wilson said that if the plane had hit the water, then the plane would have stayed relatively intact. The propeller would have still been attached, the engine wouldn't have been split in half, and Thomas's body would have still been in the cockpit. A toxicology report of Thomas's body showed that there was no alcohol, legal or illegal drugs in the system. So, the NTSB officially thinks that a pilot in relatively good weather, which was not under the influence of any substance, crashed into the water, even though the wreckage and their original investigator didn't agree. What makes me question their conclusion more than anything was Thomas's voice.
I needed to deviate. I needed to deviate. I needed to deviate.
He was obviously upset, but also, what did he need to deviate from? So, if he had hit something in midair, what was it? The only other air traffic in the area that night was a DC-10. These are very large planes, usually used for flying cargo or people, a jumbo jet. So, did he collide midair with the DC-10? No, he didn't. The DC-10 in question was checked during the investigation, and there was no evidence that it had collided with anything. Not only that, but the closest they came, according to radar, was roughly 2 miles from one another. So, Thomas didn't collide with the DC-10, or anything else on radar that night. One of the leading theories on what Thomas collided with is that he had hit a drug runner's plane in midair. Drug runners do fly quite often in the area. But anything big enough to have crashed Thomas's Cessna would have showed up on radar. Not only that, but its wreckage would have been found alongside Thomas's. There is another explanation to what Thomas hit, and that is he hit a UFO. Whatever he hit was without a doubt unidentified, and it had to have been flying for them to have collided. So, by definition, if nothing else, it was a UFO. One piece of evidence that seems to hint at this theory is a mysterious red substance that was found on the plane's wreckage. The NTSB sent samples of the wreckage with the red marks on it to a lab to try and identify what the red substance was. Chemical tests were performed on 34 samples of the red substance. Of the 34 samples, the lab was able to partially identify 20 of them, but none of the 34 could be positively identified. Whatever crashed in Thomas's plane was covered in a mysterious red substance that the NTSB, the world's leading air accident authority, can't identify. A couple of weeks after Butch Wilson submitted his final report to the NTSB, saying that Thomas had collided midair with an unknown object, the NTSB took him off the case and released their official report, claiming that the crash had been caused by pilot error. So what do you think the best explanation for the crash was? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, you'd be very awesome if you would like this video, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to check out our other paranormal investigations and videos. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to stop by rap10.net for more on this and anything else paranormal. See you next time, and thanks for watching. Remember, there's no reason to be normal when you can be paranormal. Goodbye, and take care.